I start going through my message here, I wanted to tell you something. So about 3 weeks ago, Pastor Hughes calls me, and he usually calls me at work. And so when I saw his phone coming in, I'm thinking, what could he be possibly looking for? So I answered, and we talked for a little bit. And before you know it, in the conversation, he said, "Well, Farai, I'll be going away for 3 weeks." And when he said that, I knew exactly what he was about to ask. So he said, "Well, could you possibly give a message on May 23rd? I said, "Oh, okay, not a problem." So we talked about other things, and he hung up. A week later, I said, wait a moment. So I called him. I said, "Hey, what message should I be speaking on May 23rd? He just assumed, Farai knows that May 23rd is the Pentecost Sunday. He said, "It's Pentecost, Farai." I said, "Oh, yeah." And then I got off the phone. I went and talked to my wife. I said, "Hey, honey, he wants me to talk about Pentecost on Sunday. What should I talk about?" She goes, "I don't know, Holy Spirit or something." So to say the least, it has been quite a journey trying to figure out about what to share with you. But I want to share with you a story you know very well, Arnoldine, but not talking about the things we have done, but talk more about how the whole project has transformed me. And I think it was guided by the Holy Spirit, and we continue to be guided by the Holy Spirit. So this one I have to have a script. So the passage we just read speaks of the Holy Spirit and comes at Pentecost, and all the people started speaking in tongues. In verse 4 it says, "All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit enabled them." That last part of the verse caught my attention. It says, "as the Spirit enabled them." I started to think about all my life's journey and experiences, as well as the day-to-day experiences within this church. I saw these simple day-to-day encounters as the works of the Holy Spirit, as the Spirit enabled us. I titled my message, "The Holy Spirit at Work," because I wanted to speak about the ordinary acts of kindness that are producing extraordinary transformational experiences in the lives of ordinary people. Many of you have come to know and supported the work at Arnoldine, my home village. My life changed significantly after that trip to Arnoldine in 2014. I did not know it at the time that it was the Holy Spirit at work. It is only now that I see how the power of the Holy Spirit has enabled me and you to serve God in a very simple, ordinary way. For 2 years, my dad, Norman Thomas, had been asking me to accompany him to my home village of Arnoldine in Zimbabwe. At that time, he was 82 years old. I had no interest whatsoever, but he persisted relentlessly. To a point, I finally agreed to go with him. We flew on separate flights since I had missed my flight. Another moment of fighting the trip. It was a very expensive moment. I rebooked my flight and was scheduled to fly the next day. My flight was uneventful. I traveled well. I met with my father and started deciding on how we were going to spend our time in Zimbabwe. The priority was traveling to Arnoldine Mission, but along the way, we made several stops at different villages, visiting my relatives and paying our respect for those who had passed on. Eventually, we arrived at Arnoldine. We were received by so many family members and close friends. Norman was reunited with many friends he had worked with 50 plus years ago. It was amazing to witness my dad with members of the community whom he served back in the missionary days. We spent the night at Arnoldine. During the stay, we toured the village, meeting with family members and friends. We toured the clinic, which was started by Winnie Thomas with financial help from the United Methodist Church in Birmingham, Michigan. We visited the new secondary school, which had just started in 2013 with 7 students. They had a very small building divided into 4 small little classrooms. The secondary school was using the building as temporary space as they sought help to construct an appropriate classroom. As we were touring all these places, it was amazing to learn all of Norman and Winnie's accomplishments 50 plus years ago. Those accomplishments were still making positive impact to the community. Everyone in Arnoldine knew of the Thomases and all their accomplishments. The clinic, which was started by Winnie, had become a central healthcare center supporting not only the Arnoldine community, but the neighboring villages at Arnoldine. I could not believe that even at that age, at 82, Norman Thomas still had interest in seeing the development of Arnoldine Secondary School. The last place we visited was my parents' gravesite. We arrived there and Norman cried continuously as he remembered my parents. We hugged and wept together as we were standing in front of the graves. I was overwhelmed by emotions. We prayed and returned to my uncle's house in preparation for our departure. At that point, my mind was beginning to process the whole visit. It was mind-boggling for me to learn of the work Norman and Winnie had done and to see the positive impact still existing 50 years later. As we were getting ready to leave, I started having lots of questions in my mind. What was my purpose in life? Why was I there? It took my dad 2 years to convince me to visit my home village with him. Was this just a trip he wanted to do, or was God speaking to him? I had no answers, but my mind was racing. As I was getting ready to get into the car to begin our journey back to the capital city of Zimbabwe, Harare, my cousin approached me and asked, "We would like to ask some help." And the very first thing which came into my mind as I heard that question was, okay, what does he want? Money? However, I did not express those thoughts out loud, and instead I waited for him to tell me what he needed. He then said, "Could you help us paint our church?" That was not the request I was expecting. I was humbled. I told Brian to send me the quotation for the painting of the church once I returned to the USA. At that point, after witnessing all the testimonies by the community regarding work which had been done by Norman Thomas, I was ready to commit myself to help them paint their church, even if I had to spend my own money. The Zimbabwe trip transformed me. After all the resistance of not wanting to go to Zimbabwe, I have to say it was a well-worth trip to do, and I didn't realize that was the beginning of transformation for me. I returned to Michigan with lots of emotions from Zimbabwe. I was feeling grateful to all the family members and Lico Corporation who supported me to take the trip, to make the trip a success. I was ready to help Arnoldine Village at whatever cost. Shortly after my return, I received the cost of painting the church. As a Stevensville United Methodist Church member and chairperson of the Ed Council at the time, I came back from Zimbabwe ready to serve in whatever way possible. Tuesday, September 26th, 2014, we had the church Ed Council meeting, and everything seemed normal during the meeting until towards the end. Miss Carolyn Yoder, who oversaw missions at the time, had nothing to report for the month of September. but she was seeking ideas from Ed Council of any mission projects to support. When I heard that request, seeking ideas for the mission project to support, I could not believe what I was hearing. It was the moment when I realized God was speaking to me. God was whispering in my ear that, Farai, do it. I started to wonder what plans he had for me. No one had any idea, so I finally said it. My home village needs help with their church painted. There was silence in the room for a minute, and Pastor Gordy Berry, our pastor at the time, finally said, let's do it. The Ed Council unanimously agreed, and help was on its way. Within 2 weeks of sending the money to Arnoldine, I received the before and after pictures of Arnoldine Church. The church looked brand new, and it was beautiful. It was amazing to see the before and after pictures. That church had not been painted in 30 years. The project was completed and a success. I presented the work to the congregation. After the project, we did many projects, as you know. Some of those projects you supported, we've done quite a bit. It was at that point in July 2015 when Pastor Gordy Berry retired. Pastor Hills joined the congregation as our new pastor, and he adopted the idea of uplifting the quality of the life at Arnoldine. Instead, he suggested 501c3 organization as a way to go. I remember when he told me that day about the 501c3, I started telling myself, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I signed up for. So I listened to him, and I went home. I came back the next day, and I said, Pastor Hills, I'm scared. And he goes, you should be. Anyway, at that point of the game, I was already realizing I had become an agent of God to improve lives at Arnoldine. I had begun to feel the pressure to fulfill the plans we had outlined with Pastor Gordy Berry before his departure. I was scared because I knew this project was speaking a life of its own. I prayed about it, and told myself many unexplainable events had happened on this journey, and the only explanation I had was the Holy Spirit was guiding us. I started looking for board members for the organization. I knew I needed a team with different skills to contribute to the organization. Well, thank God I was able to find those members, and they were willing to join the team. On January 27th, 2017, Living Beyond Hope was legally registered as a 501c3 organization. Since then, we've never looked back. Today, we are supporting 300 students at Arnoldine Secondary. This is work of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit has enabled each and every one of you in ways that are very unique to each person. In my personal life, what I have shared is how I saw the power of the Holy Spirit move. It enabled me to open my mouth and share the simple idea of supporting painting the church. And since then, it took a life of its own. Within our community, here in Stevensville, we started the food truck project, which is helping people in our community. What started as a church project became a community project. I remember in 2018 at the Ed Council meeting when Kelly brought it up to start the food truck project. I could not imagine what it is today. The many lives, hundreds of lives we're helping. Today we have the Lakeshore Rotary Club, who has joined arms with us to do the food truck once a month. We have members of the community who are not members of the church donating their time and money towards this project. Since 2018, each month we've been giving out food to hundreds of families up to date. The Holy Spirit guides us as a community to care for each other, to pray for each other, and to sharing with one another. Within our congregation, We are all doing acts of kindness that are guided by the Holy Spirit. These acts of kindness, I translate them as speaking different language, but with one goal, one purpose. And that goal and purpose is to serve the people of God as the Spirit enables us. As I conclude our service this morning, I want you to know that Jesus does not call the equipped, but he equips those he calls. Jesus uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things as the Holy Spirit enables them. Amen.